In security and risk management, the stakes couldn't be higher, right? We're not just teaching abstract concepts from a textbook. We're getting students ready for a field where one single decision can have huge, real-world consequences. So the big question is, how do we actually prepare them to make the right call when everything is on the line?
And this quote just gets right to the heart of it. We are talking about things that can lead to accidents, massive financial losses, or even people getting hurt. Every single decision counts, and the margin for error is, well, it's practically zero. This is not some academic game. It's about being competent when the pressure is on.
So that really is the million-dollar question for us as educators, isn't it? How do we get our students to go beyond just memorizing facts and procedures and get them into a state where they are truly ready for the messy, uncertain world they're about to enter?
Let's be honest about the challenge we're up against. It's something that's been well documented. We've got a growing gap between the piece of paper that says they have a degree and the actual practical skills our graduates need to have on day one of the job.
I'm betting this looks pretty familiar to you. We see these students, they're smart, they're eager, but they often just react way too fast. They'll see an alert and accept it at face value, or they'll follow a checklist without really thinking about the why, without understanding the risk they're supposed to be managing. And look, this isn't because they aren't smart. It's because there's a gap in how we're training them.
And you know, this isn't just something we're noticing in our own classrooms. The OECD is backing this up with data. Employers are saying loud and clear that graduates are missing those critical skills, problem solving, analytical thinking, that are just absolutely essential in this field. A diploma just isn't the guarantee of those skills that it used to be.
So how in the world do we fix this? How do we close that gap? Well, the answer isn't just to throw more information at them. It's about giving them a better process. We need to stop just teaching them what to think and start teaching them how to think. And we can do that with a simple, practical framework.
You see that key phrase there, thinking before acting? That's the whole ball game. For what we do, critical thinking is really just that disciplined habit of hitting the pause button to analyze, to evaluate, and then to decide, especially when things are fuzzy and you don't have all the answers. It's about learning to manage uncertainty, not trying to wish it away.
And this is the tool we can give them. It's so simple, so easy to remember. Just 4 steps. Stop, check, decide, and review. An approach like this breaks that knee-jerk reactive decision-making and replaces it with a method that's calm, deliberate, and a whole lot more reliable.
Okay, so that's the framework, but how do we take this idea off of a slide and turn it into a real skill that our students can actually use out in the world? Let's dive into some practical strategies you can use in your classroom.
First things first, and this one is absolutely crucial. We have got to train them to fight that natural impulse to just react immediately. Job number 1 is teaching them to take a breath, pause, and actually analyze what's going on before they leap into action. And we can give them a little toolkit for that analysis, just a set of simple, essential questions. By making them actually say out loud, what is the real risk here? What do I know for sure? What's missing? And maybe most importantly, what is the single safest thing I can do right now? That little bit of structure is the perfect antidote to a rushed, bad decision.
Look, theory is important, but skills are built by doing. A lecture about risk isn't going to do much good when a real crisis hits. We've got to throw them into the deep end with realistic, problem-based scenarios where they have no choice but to use the framework we've taught them.
For instance, give them a really ambiguous security alert, something with missing information. And don't just let them give you a one-word answer. Make them walk you through it. What are all the potential risks? What are their options? Make them commit to the safest action. But here's the kicker. Make them explain why, the reasoning behind their choice. That's where the real learning happens.
Now, this next one is a bit of a tightrope walk, but it's so important. We need our students to be skeptical, right? To check their sources, to verify information. But we can't let that skepticism tip over into paralysis or fear. What we're really aiming for is a state of calm, professional doubt. Let's call it good doubt.
Because we have to help them avoid 2 dangerous extremes. On one side, if you have too much trust, you just accept bad information, and that can be a disaster. But on the other side, too much fear causes panic, and that leads to equally bad reactive decisions. That sweet spot right in the middle, that's good doubt. It's the discipline to calmly check things out before you act.
Let's talk about technology. Our students have these incredibly powerful tools, like AI, that can give them an answer in a split second. But in our field, a fast answer that's wrong can be way more dangerous than no answer at all.
We have to teach them that technology is a support tool, it's not a substitute for their own human judgment. So here's a simple, powerful rule you can give them. Just have them repeat it. Technology supports decisions, humans remain responsible. AI can run an analysis, it can even suggest a course of action, but that final call and all the responsibility that comes with it, that always stays with the person.
Okay, let's talk about grading. Because if we're going to teach this way, we have to assess this way too. You know, in risk management, sometimes you can have a perfect process and still get a bad outcome just because of bad luck. And sometimes a terrible process gets lucky. So we have to grade the thinking, not just the final answer.
This means our grading rubrics need to change. We should be assessing them on these things. How well did they actually analyze the risk? How did they use the evidence they were given? How clearly could they explain their decision-making process? And this one is huge, did they acknowledge what they didn't know? That's how you measure real critical thinking.
So after all this work, changing how we teach, how we grade, what's the end goal? What's the big payoff? Well, it's all about the kind of professional we're sending out into the field. The result is a graduate who doesn't panic when things get messy, a professional who is reliable when the pressure is on, who is truly competent. They're not just leaving our classrooms with a head full of facts, they're leaving with a mental process that prepares them for the one thing they're guaranteed to face, uncertainty.
So, to wrap it all up, here are your key takeaways. Teach them a clear, simple framework for thinking. Use realistic, messy scenarios. Train them to question their sources. Grade their reasoning, not just their ability to memorize. And finally, show them how to use technology as a responsible partner. These are really the pillars for building that next generation of critical thinkers.
I'll leave you with one final question to think about. As you look at your own courses, your own exams and assignments, what is the one small change you could make this semester to shift the focus, even just a little, away from just the right answer and toward the right way of thinking?
Thanks for taking the time for this explainer. By focusing on process over answers, we can empower a new generation of professionals who are ready for anything.